This 2026 draft class is something special, and Caleb Wilson of the Chicago Bulls is the most intriguing prospect out of all of them. And through two Summer League games, you can see why Bulls fans were so excited that they were able to draft him at number 4. He is incredible on both ends of the basketball court, and his work ethic seems unmatched. I love his passion for the game and the way that he plays the sport. It's so reminiscent of many great players we've had in the past, and the way that they came into the NBA with some skills that they needed to refine, but they worked like crazy. And they said on the broadcast tonight that Caleb Wilson is shooting between 2,000 and 2,500 shots per day. And you can see that paying off with the way that he has shot the three ball through his first two Summer League games. Obviously, in game one, we know he was incredible. He scored 35 points, which was the most ever by a rookie in their Summer League debut. 35 points on 7 of 11 from the three-point line. And I know it's been talked about at this point, but he only hit 7 3-pointers throughout his entire freshman season at North Carolina. He comes into the Summer League and immediately hits 7 3-pointers. And that was the big question mark in the draft for Caleb Wilson is he going to be able to develop his shot at the next level? When you watch his form, it looks really nice, it looks really smooth, and looks like a player that's going to be able to shoot the basketball. A lot of times when you see young players that struggle consistently shooting, you can tell from their form, their feet, their footwork, their follow through, all those things really stick out in a guy who's a poor shooter. Well, Caleb Wilson looks really smooth, but the fact that he's shooting so many shots a day now that he's at the NBA level, to me, tells me a lot about his mentality and his mindset for the player he will turn out to be. And it's perfect for the Chicago Bulls. They needed a player like this. But even more impressive to me than the shooting so far has been his play on the defensive end of the basketball court. And I'll get into the offensive end a little bit more in a second. But defensively, tonight he had 5 blocks and 2 steals, and he flies around the basketball court. He has incredible knack for the ball. His athleticism is through the roof. Kind of reminds you a little bit of the Thompson twins, Amen and Ausar Thompson. The way that they so effortlessly move on the defensive end of the court. Their athleticism, their speed, their jumping ability, all of that together, and his strength, his size, his length, all of that will turn into, at the very least, Caleb Wilson will be a very high-level defender at the NBA level. All NBA level defender, I think, without question, when you look at his work ethic and his athletic tools. And defensively, obviously, your tools are important. Are you big enough? Are you strong enough, fast enough, whatever, athletic enough? All those things matter. But the will to defend is the most important thing by far. There's so many players in the NBA that don't have that drive to defend at the highest level, and you can tell. And that's why they really don't reach their maximum potential. But everything you hear about this young man, Caleb Wilson, is so impressive. And you saw his college coach there tonight from North Carolina was at the game supporting, his guy coming into the NBA. And I just think that's really cool. It shows you the player Caleb Wilson is, but it shows you the man he is more than anything. He seems like a great leader. They had him mic'd up. He's a great leader, a great young man. He's only 19 years old, so he's really going to continue to develop, in that aspect. And for a young Chicago Bulls team that probably isn't looking to win at a high level this year, a player that can develop and has that work ethic is perfect for the timeline of the Chicago Bulls as they start to rebuild this team the right way. Because for years, it felt like they were hanging on to older players that, were kind of mediocre at best. Your Zach LaVines, your DeMar DeRozan. Players, DeMar DeRozan's a player that I've liked. He's been a winning player, especially in Toronto. But they were just holding on to him at the end of his career. Nikola Vucevic, they were able to get off of his contract, trade him to the Boston Celtics. And so you see the Bulls starting to build young and really reset this roster. And that is a great thing for an organization to do. I know there's a lot of talk about tanking and losing on purpose, all those sorts of things. But being stuck in the middle, a team that's like trying to make the play-in game, that's not where you want to be. It's hard to build your team from there, and it's hard to really develop. But back to Caleb Wilson. So tonight he had 19 points, 8 rebounds, and like I mentioned, 5 blocks and 2 steals. Again tonight, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. In game 1, 7 of 11. And the thing that you've noticed is he's been really good on the off the dribble 3-point shots. He struggled a little bit on the catch and shoot shots. So, that's the easiest thing to work on in practice. You just stand there and someone throws you the basketball. You practice your form after catching the basketball. And it's very encouraging if he is able to hit those pull-up 3-point shots, those pull-up jumpers. Those are so valuable in the NBA. When offense is hard to come by in big basketball games, being able to generate your own look is so valuable. You think of the NBA champions over the last few years. Jalen Brunson is a guy who's really able to generate his own look off the dribble. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the year before that generates his own look off the dribble. And if Caleb Wilson is able to develop that part of his game, and if he's working as hard as he is and the improvement we've already seen, he's going to be a really, really impressive basketball player. And not to mention, he had a crazy dunk tonight. They had a picture on social media of how far he was from the rim when he started that dunk and how high he was up in the air. Unbelievable athleticism from this young man. And I think when you look at some of the young forwards that have come in the NBA that have either developed into nice players or still need work, I think of guys like the Thompson twins that I mentioned, but Scotty Barnes, Jalen Johnson, and the offensive end is really what separates guys who are great young athletic players like the Thompson twins to guys who are all-star level players like Jalen Johnson, Scotty Barnes, who've maybe taken a step further in their basketball game. Not saying that Thompson twins or any of those guys are done developing, but you can see the value in the offensive side of the basketball if you are going to become the basketball player that he can be. And Caleb Wilson has as high of a ceiling as anybody in this draft, and I think it was a really impressive draft. I mentioned that earlier. It wasn't as efficient tonight from the field. I think it was 8 of 19. I might be misremembering that, but that's just off the top of my head. Don't worry about percentages in the Summer League. I've said this time and time again. In the Summer League, you are seeing guys take shots that they wouldn't normally take. They're working on their games, and you're not playing with the normal cast of players that you're going to be playing with in the regular season. What does that mean? That means that when another player gets the basketball, they're also trying to make a basketball team. So if they go out there and make an impressive play, that helps their stock. So you see guys kind of playing outside of themselves. The ball movement's not as good. It's harder to generate good looks because the players, the defenders are not as focused on your teammates as they will be in the regular season when you're lining up next to better players. So do not worry about percentages and the fact that he shot under 50% in this basketball game. That means nothing to me. I have no concern about that part of the game. And through 2 games, he is averaging 27 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2 steals, 4 blocks, 53% from the 3-point line. And that's an unbelievable start. Free throw wise, he's really struggling. He was 0 of 6 from the free throw line tonight, and he shot 17% from the free throw line through the first 2 games. But that's not something I'm too worried about. The free throw rules in the Summer League, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to sit down and watch a Summer League game, but they have it to where you shoot 1 free throw, and that free throw can either count as 1, 2, or 3 points, depending on, was it an and 1? Did you get fouled on a 2 or a 3? I don't like that rule at all, but I think it kind of makes the free throws feel a little clunky. If a guy misses 1, it feels pretty devastating compared to, if he were to get his normal free throws throughout the course of a game. But getting to the free throw line 6 times, and if he's able to hit those 50% of his free throws, you're immediately generating 6 more points, and that brings him up from 19 points to 25 points, which you'd feel like is a really, really solid basketball game. So in the Summer League, I focus mostly on the highlights and the things that you like to see, the things that impress you about their basketball game and what they're working on. So for him, his athleticism immediately stands out. He's taken a jump from college level to the Summer League, and you can tell his athleticism is different. His defense has been incredible. Both of those things will translate to an NBA level immediately and immediately make him a high-level NBA player and a contributor to winning, which again, the Chicago Bulls need. They're an organization that, unfortunately, since Michael Jordan retired, have been unlucky to be quite honest with you, we know Derrick Rose, youngest MVP ever, came in and, blew out his knee and was never really able to be the same player he was before that. And they've just had some players not work out, some draft picks not work out, some moves. So starting with Caleb Wilson, you hope that they're able to turn this franchise around if you're the Chicago Bulls. Now, one thing I do want to point out, the Summer League can be a rough watch from time to time. Certainly, if you haven't sat down and watched a full Summer League game, there are times you're like, holy smokes, some of these players are bad. And like I said, they're trying to do things outside of themselves. They're taking bad shots. They're turning the ball over and just kind of making rough decisions that you won't see at an NBA level. But the way that the commentators, every single time the camera went to Caleb Wilson in the first half, they mentioned Mamba mentality or compared him to Kevin Garnett was so annoying to me. If you watched the broadcast, or even if you didn't, I understand that if you think his player comp is Kevin Garnett, great. And Kevin Garnett's an unbelievable player. He's my favorite player of all time. And I have no problem with that being a comp. But dude, let's not mention it every single time you show the player. Caleb Wilson is his own guy. He's got his own skill set. Kevin Garnett was 7 foot, 7'1", it felt like. Caleb Wilson is a little bit more of a wing, maybe. Maybe can handle the will handle the basketball maybe a little more. That traditional power forward doesn't really exist as much in the modern NBA, but let him be his own player. We don't have to bring up Mamba mentality Kevin Garnett every single time we see players in the Summer League. And it drives me nuts when I'm watching Darren Peterson. He brings up Kobe every single interview. They asked him about his defensive mindset, and I think he just said Kobe. And I don't know what we're doing, man. Just be your own man, be your own player. And this is not a critique of either of those guys. But the way that we constantly want to compare them to guys of the past kind of got annoying. Quickly want to touch on Dalen Swain for the Bulls has really struggled through two Summer League games. Again, you can't get overly concerned about the Summer League. You do like to see, flashes. And through 2 games, he was 0 of 9 tonight, 3 of 10 in game 1. Just been really inefficient, struggling to find his game. But he's a player that a lot of guys liked. Value for the Bulls, I think they got him at 15. But hopefully he can kind of get going and get a rhythm before we get into, preseason, regular season basketball. Again, these guys got drafted a couple weeks ago, so it's hard to be too concerned about an inefficient Summer League game. But we'll really see, hopefully, him take a step forward. I believe they play tomorrow night against the Washington Wizards. Might be a game I tune in for, see AJ DeBonsa. If Caleb Wilson plays, sometimes these guys don't play back-to-backs. But all in all, if you're a Bulls fan, you have to be super pumped about what you've seen from Caleb Wilson as your Summer League, 2 games into your Summer League. And I can't wait to watch him in the regular season. That is all we got for you regarding tonight's game. We might be covering that game tomorrow night. We'll just have to see. Appreciate y'all watching. If you love the NBA, take a second to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.